Over the last few years, I've been trying to work out why certain things in my life have, sort of turned out the way that they have. And friendships over the years has been a sort of particular thing that's been on my mind. Specifically, why I've tended to let some slide, some good friendships slide. I've had occasions where, recently I've sort of reconnected with long lost friends and family, and you come to realize then just how important they are. Having said that, I do think the way that we handle friendships is kind of different, certainly to that of my parents' generations, when I sense they definitely had, friendships for life. I think, more people live a kind of nomadic life these days, so community is less of a thing. And I'm also much more aware of my own identity shifting as I get older, and what's important to me changing, and I think that impacts who comes with you on your journey. I think it also makes you realize how powerful your real friendships are. My guest today has dedicated her life to the creative arts as a fabulous graphic and visual arts designer, and also the singer in Go Betty Go, where her close, tight friendships with the band members have really been forever. Enduring the rocky road of life, and have, I think, been instrumental in the band, reforming years ago and recording their soon to be released EP called Black and Blue. And the title hints at the bruises yet. It's the self care, it's time, and it's friendships and our old great mate music that help you heal. So it's a big welcome to Nicolette Vilar, who, as we are recording this, is sampling the lovely UK summer, renowned the world over for its all too predictable downpours and things like that. So, Nicolette, welcome anyway. Great to see you.
Oh, so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we were just saying before we started that you're currently in Edinburgh, and you've been sort of traveling around the UK, which is amazing. How long is it since you've been in the UK?
About 6 days?
Okay, and how long before that? When was the last time that you were here?
I've never been here before.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. Oh, wow.
Yeah, the band had come at the time that I was in school. So Emily
Right.
was singing with them and they did come to Europe. And I
Yeah.
think they traveled through the UK, I want to say. But I wasn't there, so it's my first
Wow.
time.
It's your first time here. And then I guess when you get back, then the record is going to be the EP is going to be coming out, which I think is
Right.
September 13th, isn't it? When
That's
it's
right.
when it's so let's have a chat about that. How was what's been sort of happening in the? I mean, obviously it's been quite a while since there's been COVID and all this sort of stuff, and obviously, kind of Betty's health as well.
Right.
What's how's the that whole sort of process been for getting the record to where we are now?
Yeah, I mean, as a band, we do things on our own term. We had last put out music in 2012, I believe, with
Mm,
Reboot, and we were playing shows and moving
yeah.
along with that. And then about 2017, 2018, we started writing again. And we take our time because there's
Mm,
nobody rushing us. We do it
yeah,
because we
yeah.
want to, and it's fun. And so we slowly started writing songs again, one at a time. We don't like to produce like a large quantity of music. We like to spend our time and create songs thoroughly and as best as possible.
Yeah.
We're all involved in it. So my sister and I wrote "Keep Up" together, and then Betty had written a few songs herself, and so someone will get an idea, and then we come together and we all put our own pieces into each
Mm,
song. And so the songs were coming along, but then COVID hit, and so
mm,
that kind of stopped things. But we had spoken to Davey Warsop, who produced the EP like prior to 2020, and
mm,
so it had been in the works. But then COVID hit, and we all had to just take a little break.
yeah.
But if anything, it allowed us to really polish, the all of the pieces, so that when we did go into the studio, they were, a little bit more prepared.
Mm,
Um, and then when we went into the studio, we realized that Betty had cancer, and so that
mm,
kind of threw us for a bit of a loop as well. but between chemotherapy sessions, and in moments where she felt well, she'd go in and do her parts, including some of the backup vocals and all of the guitar. And so, yeah, we get
Wow.
knocked down, but we get up again.
Yes, that's true, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
yes, that song really kind of does it, doesn't it? You know, it's meant for these sort of situations, don't. Although I think it was kind of hijacked in some ways, wasn't it, over the years? But you know, a
Yeah.
great band. One of my favorite bands, like when they first came out back in what 80, I think 86, Chumbawamba, and I just loved their first record. It was just so like hit me straight. It was so good.
Yeah. That song is so
Yes.
popular.
Oh yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
know. So what? So that's. I mean, this has been a kind of really challenging, tough time. I mean, the resilience that you guys must have needed to sort of see through this. This is it's kind of like big stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we had a feeling Betty wasn't doing so well, but we had no idea that it would
Yeah,
be what it ended up being, and, we wish that as a band sometimes that we could take her pain and carry it for her,
yeah, yeah,
but it's something that she's had to endure on her own, and so we do everything we can to support her, give her, anything that she could possibly,
yeah,
take from us. Uh, she's been an absolute champion, through all of
yeah,
this. It's she endures so much, and then she comes out of it, and
mm,
those are the moments that we get to see her, spend time with her, work with her, and we're so grateful for all the time that we do get to have with her.
yeah,
And there's moments where she's enduring surgeries or chemotherapy, and
mm,
she goes away, and we don't hear from her or anything for a little bit because she has to work on healing. But everything that's happened so far has gone for the good, and every s- time that the doctors have a plan for her, it ends up working out.
yeah,
So we just hope and pray that it keeps going in that direction.
yeah.
um, and yeah, and that she
Well,
stays with us for a long time.
I'm sure that having knowing that you're around and you are as supportive of you as you've always been will be like a real, kind of strong sort of crutch to to lean on, even if sort of physically you can't do anything. It's her, but
Yeah.
you're there. She'll know that, and that must be incredibly powerful.
I hope so, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Not just the band, but all of the people around,
yeah,
wishing her well, and giving her support, whether that be her GoFundMe or just, like, messages, and, all the people that come up to us at shows that tell me to tell her, like, "I'm thinking about you, I wish you well," and all of that.
mm,
It's working, the
yeah,
power of the mind, and people, praying and wishing her well, it's working. So
yeah.
we're eternally grateful for that.
I
Yeah.
do think that we like as humans we have this. It, it it's funny, isn't it, when you think of something that, or you see somebody else going through something, or you think of something for yourself that's in the future. It sometimes feels like so big. It's like, oh, I don't know how I could cope with that. But we are very resilient and we're very adaptable. To situations when we get into them,
Right.
you just kind of adapt, don't you? And I guess you have to. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have no choice.
You have no choice. And I don't think that Betty asks too many questions. I think
Yeah,
she just takes one step in front of the other and keeps
yeah,
going forward.
yeah,
Um, and when all this first came about, it at first, of course, like, you feel like there's a tsunami coming at you, and it's all
yeah,
just inevitable, and it's scary as hell. But then I had a friend give me advice, to it basically told me, like, do not let yourself go under into that sadness. You have to be her
yeah,
uh light, and just remind her that she is going to be fine, and
mm,
just keep repeating that, that this will come, turn out okay. And I'm
Mm,
so glad that she gave me that advice because that's what I've done ever since I had my first conversation with her about it. And that's how I feel. And it's been working. So, in this
mm.
situation, I'm so grateful that I am being positive and because it has done us a lot of good
Yeah,
to
for
stay
sure.
positive. Mhm.
So the other side with COVID, how did it feel when you were able to go back into the studio, sort of looking at those songs that you'd written maybe what we talked about, like 3 years ago, maybe?
I mean,
Or pre
2018, yeah, is when we
2018,
first
right, yeah.
started, yeah, so
Wow.
it's a long time coming. Yeah, it was
Wow.
exciting. I mean, I think that we like to have had digested those songs and played them multiple times and played them to audiences because we if sometimes you don't know until you've played it a lot enough times that it's like, oh, actually, like I should play it this way versus that way,
Yeah.
or you can use an extra backup, or oh, maybe this part could go a little longer, this part could be a little shorter. It's
Yeah.
it's a work in progress up until it's finalized, and it's nice to have the time to do it
Mm.
well, because these things are forever, and you don't want to
Yeah.
like do something quickly just to get it out.
It's not it's interesting because I think there's a few bands and artists that have been in, similar situations, and, where a record has been ready to go, and
Hmm.
then they've had to do a similar thing of kind of look back at it, and I guess it depends on the content of it and what's inspired the record. Because I know that some have had to, not fully rewrite, but to adjust it because they've moved on as
Right.
people themselves, which I guess is a kind of natural thing if you're writing a very sometimes if you're writing a very personal
Yeah.
record, it can things change just like so
Hmm.
quickly, don't they, these days?
Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like our music is very audience forward.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to be able to play it to them, feel
Mm,
how they receive it, and then make adjustments.
yeah. So for you, Nicolette, like you're like going back to like when you were a kid, when you were sort of growing up. I mean, what do you remember? I'm always interested in
Uh-huh.
what people remember from childhood, things that sort of stay with you.
Yeah.
Your kind of formative influences, things that have sort of stayed with you as you've kind of gone through life. What do you remember about that time?
Oh, my parents were big travelers.
Mm,
Being in California, there's so many uh, just what's the word I'm trying to think it natural no national forests to go
yeah, yeah,
visit, um,
yeah,
uh, and landscapes different, because we would shoot up north, go to San Francisco, go to
yeah.
visit Catalina Island, Sequoia every summer.
Mm,
um, and so, we would take these great road trips, and those were always like the highlight of the year, and spending time like as a family. My dad is super into music, so he had this like
mm,
awesome CD collection, and we were, just there was always a song to the summer,
yeah.
or Christmas we got that CD, and it was just, yeah, no, music is a huge part of the family. And so that love of traveling, that love of music, eventually became touring, with
Wow.
my sister. Yeah.
What sort of music was being played in your house in the car as you were growing up?
Yeah, my dad's a rocker.
Yeah, yeah,
Rock en español,
yeah,
Soda Stereo, but at the same time, the Beatles is huge for us.
yeah.
I just read the Sinead O'Connor book. That was
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, she was big in my family. The
She's incredible.
Cure, the Jam, English Beat, Madness. Gosh, I can go on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like just
it's
kind of
it's
a
interesting,
bit
like,
of
my parent, well, particularly my dad was more musical. He was sort of classically trained as I was when I was a kid. And, I went to see this exhibition in London yesterday. Was it yesterday? Thursday. It was on Thursday, and it was, like, basically, like, 500 years of black music in the UK, and it was up at the British Library, and it was fantastic. And there was a sort of clip of, Winifred Atwell playing the piano back in the, oh my god, it was been like the 50s or something like that, playing this amazing kind of like bluesy boogie woogie piano, and
Oh,
it,
fun.
and I'd completely forgotten about it and how much my dad used to love her and play her stuff. I just saw this clip and she was just sort of smiling at the camera and it was just amazing. And I was like, oh my God, completely sort of took me back to that time when my dad was playing
Oh,
her vinyl at home and stuff like that.
that's so
It's
cool. Yeah, I mean those songs that we grow up with, they're forever with us, and it's just such a great thing to go back to.
yeah. What sort of I mean, talking just you just reminded me now. Those sort of California road trips last year or the year before. We went to like my kids and my partner. We went to California, and we went from sort of San Francisco down, drove down through to LA, so down the coast. It was just amazing. Yeah, those sort of natural parks. I wish I could remember the name of the one that we stopped off at. It's just incredible.
Oh yeah,
What an amazing drive, and it was just, oh my god, it was just so good.
and it all changes as you go through. But yeah, like Big
Yeah,
Sur,
yeah,
got the coast, and then you've got the desert. No, there's just all kinds of landscapes. Every direction you go into, you'll see something drastically different.
yeah. And it's weird how you can sort of fit music to your
Yeah.
kind of environment as well. There's songs that sort of feel
Oh
right.
yeah, absolutely.
Really weird.
And yeah.
So no, go on.
Oh yeah, no, I was just what comes to mind too is the love affair between the UK and the Americas, because you've got, Joshua Tree, which is,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
um, and how that always reciprocates. But yeah.
yeah. So what sort of as you sort of grown up, what kind of people or kids friends were you sort of gravitating towards? Was there a kind of a certain group
Oh
of
yeah.
people that
I mean, uh, yeah. I mean, the friendships that my sister and I are only a year and a half apart.
mm,
So we often hung out in the same circle as kids and growing up, and yeah, we gravitated to people who love music also,
yeah,
um, like skater kids and stuff like
yeah,
that. And, the beautiful thing about having that as the thing that binds you is uh, that it doesn't matter what color you are, where you come from, how much money your parents have. Like, if you're into the
mm,
same bands, you're gonna meet
yeah,
all kinds of people, you know?
yeah,
Uh, so it was often hangouts were at our place after school, and, Ike would be on the drums, and then I'd be singing, and then our friends would play the guitar or the bass, and that's what we did after school, and
yeah.
those were who our friends were.
Did you, so I guess with your your family being musical, it was quite natural, to get into whatever instruments or sort of vocals that
Uh-huh.
really sort of took your fancy, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah. My sister was more of the actual musician.
Mm,
I I thought of myself as more of a visual artist,
yeah,
um, but I loved the idea of being a musician, and so I'd join in every way that I can. But it
yeah,
wasn't until later that I actually really took it seriously. But
yeah.
for me, it was always fun to be part of it.
How did it feel? Because like when I was a kid, so I played the cello when I was a kid. I was sort of trained in that, and which is okay because you can I was really shy when I was a kid, and there are still situations that make me feel where my shyness starts to make me feel uncomfortable. But when you're playing the cello, you can kind of hide behind the instrument, the physical instrument.
Right.
Whereas, like as a vocalist, you
No.
can't. There's no sort of
No.
hiding place. How did you feel? You like kind of getting hold of microphone or sort of being that focus
Oh
of
yeah.
attention, I guess.
I remember feeling very scared. I
Mm,
remember that my first show, I I I held the microphone so tightly, and I had like the stand right there, and
yeah,
it was exciting, but it was very scary, and I remember, well, my sister is very critical, so she'd be like, "Okay, well, we're gonna do this again. You have to move around. You have to be louder." It was just this constant mantra of like, "Move, move, move."
Wow.
And the people that I really enjoyed watching like on stage were just like insane. Like I love James Brown,
Yeah.
Elvis, people who have like it distinct moves that they do and everything. And so I knew I had to quickly get over my fear. And it's like, although I'm not hiding behind an instrument, being the lead person in front, your job is to engage with the audience. It's
Yeah.
not about hiding. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
you're
It's the opposite.
you're the you're the person inviting everybody in. So
Yeah.
I make a point, and it's been a long time coming. I didn't know how to do this right away, but I feel like it's important to look at people's faces, to
Yeah.
smile, to invite them in, to make them feel welcome, to make them feel like they matter and the show is for them. And it's not hiding, but I've got this, it feels like a rocket ship of a band behind me,
Yeah.
blasting me off. So it's a whole movement. It's a train that we're all on, and we're going
That's
as
a good
fast as
point.
possible.
That's a really good point, that actually, yeah, having the the power of the band, behind you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, I can't wait anyway. There's no,
No.
I can't delay here. I've just got to go into it. It's almost like
Yeah.
you're kind of there. But yeah, that totally sort of makes sense. It's funny.
Hmm.
I remember talking to somebody. And they said that they had a particular sort of fear of performing in front of a big of a small crowd, as opposed to
Oh, right.
bigger crowd. The smaller one sort of felt more intimate and more, kind of in your face almost.
Right.
But it's weird how our minds work, and sometimes it's like, the bigger audience, I guess, is sort of like more remote and impersonal in a way, whereas the smaller crowd,
Oh yeah. I mean, there's kind of beauty in all of it. I
mm,
love a little room. I love a big room. If people don't know who we are, I let them know who we are. If everyone
yeah,
there is excited to see us and knows who we are, I welcome that too. I just like performing, and I feel like
mm,
what's fun is when it changes. It's like one day you'll be in a little room and on a Wednesday playing to a city you've never played at, and the next day you'll be in LA where everybody's excited to see you, and it's
yeah.
cool. I'm happy. I'm just grateful for all of these experiences.
And with your art as well, with your, kind of like visual art, your graphic design, and
Yeah.
that's obviously been a, big sort of passion of yours.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, that, I guess there's been sort of more and more people who are doing sort of similar, to what you've done for a long time, which is these sort of multi hyphen things of doing bits of this and, and such like. I mean, that's kind of quite. I mean, how have you sort of managed that? You know, doing the music stuff as well as your kind of design as
Yeah.
well.
Well, the, I started out with the band, and then I took a break, went to art school,
Yeah,
and then I went from art school directly into movie poster design.
yeah,
And I learned a lot about photography and how to be able to create these like incredible scenes just with, taking apart photos and painting and lighting and putting in shadows, and I can create anything I want based if I have the correct photography,
yeah,
and I've had to kind of sneak my way into it, but I love to illustrate, and so every chance I get, I you know we'll do an illustration
yeah,
versus just photography, um, and uh, and so I've been able to really build up my skills in all different ways. And being in a band, I mean, it's such a great asset to have because
yeah,
you need an album cover, you need
yeah,
posters for the shows, you need t-shirts, and for me
yeah,
that's fun, that because I get to combine my love of visual art and really truly use it, in every
Yeah.
aspect of being in a band, and it's just such a great way to expose my visual art, to a public.
I love it. I mean, I always love to think about, kind of music and bands, the whole thing, the visual stuff as well as the music itself. And I guess it's become harder, hasn't it, with um with streaming, with smaller CDs, and the artwork has become. I mean, I hesitate to say less important, but there's people don't see it as much as they used to. I still think it's really important. I used to get like such a massive kick out of going down to the record shop, buying
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
vinyl that I'd never heard before,
Right.
because like I'm of an age when I go into a shop, and there was no internet, and you just go into the shop, and it was really for me, honestly, it was the artwork that used to draw me in. I said, "Oh
Oh,
god,
yeah.
that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
so interesting," and then you get like the pull out inserts and stuff
Oh,
like that. It was
totally. I
just
mean,
so
that's what we
beautiful.
would do on a Friday night is go to Virgin
Yeah,
Megastore or Borders and just look through books and look at records. And I
yeah,
mean, that's sounds like a great evening out,
it
just
does,
looking
doesn't
at
it?
art
Yeah,
all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I know we don't have regular albums anymore, but what I do is I print out all my art and I put it in a book and I bring it to all the shows and I
amazing.
sell the posters to the public, and so that's my way of bringing that back to
Yeah,
where we're now, and it's really fun to see people looking through my work and seeing all
I
the different
bet.
things, and just it's great conversation starters, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's I get a total kick out of that, and I, the people respond super well, and so it makes me want to do it even more.
Oh, totally. I think that's such a great idea to do that. I mean, because I think that when you have kind of music fans, they want to. I think music fans want to see all of the stuff about you. The stuff that you're
Mhm.
doing. It's really kind of exciting, and especially the sort of the visual stuff. I like my partner's a photographer, and the the power of that kind of imagery is just mind blowing. I just love it.
Yeah, totally. I've got a Canon printer
Yeah.
that I is totally awesome, and I think that the trick with printing is that if you are going to use your printer, you got to use it often,
Mm,
and it's a machine that likes to be used, and so I use it. I print and
yeah.
I print a lot, and
I
it's really fun to do.
I did nowhere in the same league as you, but I did a sort of very short like online graphic design course
Cool.
about 2 years ago, because I'd always sort of been interested in it, and I never thought I was any good at it, and I thought blah blah blah, and so I did this course. Actually, what inspired me to do it was seeing the artwork of, I think, the Pixies album from a couple of years ago, Doggerel, I think it was, and it was the red and the black, and it just was like, wow, that's really kind of striking. So I thought, oh,
Right.
do you know what? Why don't I just do it? I'll do it. And then it was interesting that the what came out of that, the sort of the style that ended up really talking to me, and what I do now for, I also like alongside this podcast, I do some writing as well,
Nice.
and I do all the kind of the artwork for it in my own ramshackle sort of style. But it was, I don't know if you remember the magazine from the 90s, Raygun, David Carson.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, he
I remember
there's
that
this
one.
there's this magazine called Raygun, and it was a kind of it
Okay.
was predominantly a music magazine, but it
Right.
was just so visually strong. And
Cool.
David
Maybe if I
Carson was
see it, I'll know, but the name doesn't ring a bell. I gotta look it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he kind of broke all the rules. So
Cool.
he would have like text bleeding off the page.
Right.
He was very distressed, and it was around about the time of that grunge was very big.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And he just broke all the rules, and that was great
Cool.
for me because I didn't know the
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So I
totally.
could just sort of do my shit, and it was just, hopefully it was totally fine. I could just get away with it. So, well, it's meant to be like that.
For sure, yeah. No, I mean, I think that taking any courses on graphic design, typography, anything visual, it's a very practical skill to have.
Mm,
And whether you do it for yourself or, just eventually people are probably gonna ask you, to make
yeah.
me a logo real quick, or I need a flyer real quick. Like, don't
It,
spend too much time on it.
it,
It's
it,
like it's
it kind of, yeah, and it feels like the sort of thing that, well, for me, where I am, it feels like I'm always learning, which I'm bound to be. I
oh
mean, I'm only a
yeah,
beginner, but I'm always learning. It's the sort of thing that
for
you're always
sure.
learning, either sort of styles that appeal to you or just techniques and things like that. It's really
Absolutely. Oh,
exciting.
I mean, it's an abyss of possibilities. So yeah, I'm always learning too. There's
Yeah,
always something new that catches your eye and you're like, "Wait, how did they do that? I got to figure that one out."
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So with I mean, with let's talk about uh instinct. What
Right.
kind of what role sort of intuition and instinct sort of plays for you, just kind of like in your life in general.
Oh yeah. Yeah, instinct is everything. I mean,
Mm,
especially as a designer, as an artist, it's that feeling that you get when you do something. Does it feel right? Does it feel wrong? If
mm,
it's not quite right, like which direction do I go into to make it feel right?
yeah.
Um, and and it's what we got, and it's often correct. So yeah,
I I had
instinct is
I had
everything.
this I always sort of had this thing where I've got to I've learned to sort of trust my instinct more. Uh,
Hmm.
I've a I have had a tendency to kind of analyze things, which sort of then it's like, oh, should I do that, or what about that, or that, or that,
Right.
and I'd like drive myself insane
Yeah.
sometimes thinking about that, and then but then I'd have my instinct, which was talking to me, and I was like, which way do I go? Well, I've learned to trust my instinct more now. I think.
Totally, and I think it's a balance too, because if you're in that negative mindset where you're not happy about everything or
Mm,
anything, it's kind of maybe a good idea to put it down and walk away and come back
yes.
when you're
Yeah.
feeling a little bit more like happy to do it and like excited,
Mm,
and you get into that groove. Um, but yeah, it's funny how important instincts are to being an artist.
oh,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do I mean? You raise a point there, which makes me think. About kind of putting ideas down. How
Mhm.
do you that when you get something that a piece of art or piece of music that you're not entirely happy with? How do you sort of put that down and give it time to sort of sit and
Yeah, it
then
should
come
it
back to
should
it?
feel exciting. Like,
Yeah,
doing art should feel like hanging out with a friend,
yeah,
it's like, and if that's not the feeling that you're getting, go have lunch, like,
yeah,
go for a walk.
yeah.
'Cause you may take something that is going well and destroy it, and that's not what you
Mm,
want, you
yeah.
know, if you're not feeling that love, for it.
And it is sometimes that it yeah, again, that sort of instinct thing where for whatever reason, I mean, I sometimes look at the screen and think, quite doing it, not quite, but I don't know what it is, why it
Right.
doesn't. And then I'll do something, and sometimes I won't know what it is. And you'll be like,
Yeah.
ah, yeah, that was it. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, or maybe, go look at work that inspires you,
Mm,
and it's kind of a funny line between like uh, plagiarism and
yeah,
just being influenced. But the truth is that when you're doing something that's so uniquely you, um, it you can never really truly plagiarize when you're doing it your own way.
yeah,
And it's important to look at, especially when it comes to like color choices. Like, it's totally fine to look at a beautiful landscape and say like, wow, that blue is really looking great with that really pretty purple or whatever. And it's
mm,
like, okay, I'm going to put that into a piece of art or whatever, and you're seeing it from
yeah.
nature. It's fine.
What sort of feelings do you get when you in your mind when you finished a piece of work
Hmm.
and you then sort of put that out, or you give it to your client, or if you're just, if it's going to the public, that you sort of put that out there. How what's going through your mind when you do that?
Um, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how people receive it.
Mm,
And I think, there's so many ways for people to receive things these days. Is
yeah.
that, you've got like the social media, different people, tagging you or whatever, or sharing it, and then does it go vertical? Does it go horizontal? The square, whatever. But then I go home and I print it, and I can do different variations on that print. I
Mm,
can frame it, and sometimes I'll cut things up and put them back together, and so it's just like an ongoing thing. And what I'm sort of kind of learning as I go too is, I keep producing and producing and producing and making more and more and more and more work. But it's okay sometimes to just look back and be like, whoa, that thing that I did 2 years ago is really special. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna make it like a different size and change the color
mm,
and whatever. And like it's not just about creating numbers. It's about taking one thing and doing it really, really well, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's, I mean, that's interesting that it can then almost be a, a kind of living piece of work that moves. It's not just a kind of an inanimate. It kind of moves,
Oh
and
yeah.
it can sort of shift.
Oh,
I
for
guess
sure.
I guess that happens in music quite a lot as well,
Oh
with
yeah.
things like remixes, things
Yes,
like that.
yes, and also video.
Yeah.
Speaking of learning, I had taken classes in motion graphics back when I was in school,
Mm,
and there was a period of time a year ago when the strikes in Hollywood were happening that I had a lot of time on my hands because the
mm,
work was not going on, and I dove deep into motion graphics, and that's when I created the video that we just came out with, "Party at Sea," and it was just a really truly like mind-blowing experience to see everything that I was able to do
I
with
bet.
yeah, the green screen, us being shot all in on green screen and creating all these crazy backgrounds, and teaching myself the new ways of creating images with AI, and
Mm,
taking those things and cutting them apart and making them my own. And I mean, just technology is constantly giving us new ways of creating, and it was kind of scary at first, but then when everything went to shit, I was like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just gonna learn how to do it.
that's an interesting one. That, I think, again, sort of thinking about your mindset,
Mhm.
about how you've taken on board technology, and
Right.
an AI. I mean, that is, are you of the mind that you want to you want to work with it and see where it can kind of help?
I mean, I want to learn how to do everything that is possible to do.
Yeah.
The the complications are when you are straight up plagiarizing because the
Mm,
machine itself is taking things, that belong to artists. And so you want to be careful to not straight up copy just for the sake of copying.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but there's this new tool that's available, and I'm doing everything I can to learn how to use it to create things that are truly for my own visual uh, possible things to create. How am I saying this? My own unique takes on things. So
Yes, yeah, I get you.
it's all brand new, and
Mhm.
am still learning as I go. But there are things that we can do with these programs, and that have really pushed the possibilities to this like crazy extreme degree. And because I'm doing it for just the sheer sake of art, it's
Mm.
fun and it's cool, and
Yeah,
I'm having a blast by just like creating these things that even 2 years ago there's no way I could have made. And so
yeah.
it's exciting.
That's
It's also
that that
scary and weird, but it's exciting too. I don't know. Yeah.
I bet, yeah, I mean, that's interesting, that, I'm just as you were talking, I was thinking about when you create, or when thinking about my sort of situation when I'm kind of creating these things. I mean, I'm taking some some stuff and changing it, either sort of distorting it or blurring, and that
Mhm.
those sort of things. And you're right. If the technology's there, as long as it's not, I guess the challenge is that it doesn't destroy. That it's used in the right way, and I'm really kind of, sometimes I'm really cynical about humans, and kind of
Yeah,
what they can do,
as you
and
should
like
be.
about
Yeah.
about how it can be used. That it can be used in a very destructive way, as opposed to something very kind of powerfully creative, which it
Right.
could be. It could be.
Oh, yeah. It can go in both directions, absolutely.
Mm,
Um, I think, for there's a lot of companies that are extremely wealthy, all as it is, that have created their wealth on the backs of artists and artisans
yeah.
and everything, and so that kind of, platform has already been set, and I feel powerless to,
Mm,
to combat that in any
yeah.
sort of way, and that's not who I am, and that's not where I'm coming from. Um, I I'm very aware of the when I am selling something that is mine, that like I have taken ownership of something that was created by me for my audience, and I have no intention or whatever want to take someone else's work and sell it for money.
Mm,
But
yeah.
when I'm creating a music video, and I'm creating these visuals by combining extremely different things in new ways and whatever through this new technology that wouldn't have existed without it. That's where it's like it's complicated,
Mm,
and it's a conversation that I hope we continue to have. But at the same time, like as an artist living here and now, I totally want to play with it, and I want to see what is
yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
But so I hope that people that are out there listening and have opinions and want to have this conversation, please reach out to me, because I'm curious about how other people feel. It's
I think,
also brand new.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, and I think that it's. I mean, it seems of course because it's kind of such again, sort of. I mean, we get easily polarized these days, don't we?
Hmm.
But people have got different opinions on it, and different views on how risky they see. And I suppose that kind of again, where you are in your life can sometimes sort of influence how you view something, whether you view it as a threat, or as something that you could really kind of get on board with or embrace, to be able to help improve what you're doing. But
Right.
again, where you see something that's completely sort of plagiarized, or is just a something that is completely sort of AI generated and is taking away from true artists, then that's totally understandable,
Right.
problem. Mm.
Absolutely. But as an artist, if I can use this new tool that's gonna allow me to do something so much, I don't know, in a different way. I
Different
mean, for
way, yeah.
example, like I just created a poster for a Las Vegas show that we're doing that's out now,
Mm,
and I created a like this like mermaid. Like she's like this giant woman who kind of like the 50-foot woman,
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
like where she's a
yeah,
giant woman, but she's got octopus bottom, and she's taken over like a, a cruise ship, and she's holding like a person, and it's like this thing that I came up with like on a run one day. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to have this like visual of this like
yeah,
giant monster woman who that's like part octopus, and she's
yeah,
on top of this like ship, and there's like crazy waves happening, and so yeah, I went on to Mid Journey and I typed in like cruise ship from low angle, octopus like going over it, and blah blah blah. And so like it popped up an image that I will later draw on top of. It's because I'm
yeah,
using it as a reference that I then draw on top of, and then I basically like you know took, found like an image of a woman that was from that same angle, and then I drew on top of her. And so I'm combining
mm,
pieces that that I when I don't have them or don't have the reference that I want, I will go into Mid Journey, type it in, it creates the image, and then I can
yeah,
use. So it's a tool. It's a tool that
yeah.
I'm.
And then
Mhm.
you could use that completely to sort of give a whether it's a kind of like an enhanced visual or even completely different kind of what's the word you know uh, image of what you want the band to be seen as well.
Mhm.
I mean, it almost like sort of changes the game somewhat, doesn't it? It's that
Yeah, it allows me the freedom to do anything I want,
yeah,
because my imagination is so vast, and up until I have these skills and this possible way of creating images, I couldn't do everything that I think of. And now I can do everything I think of.
yeah. One thing that I sort of I'm getting again. I've been doing a lot of work on myself, but like something that I struggled with is like when I whatever it would be, whether it would be a piece of writing or an idea, and I would then sort of share it with somebody for kind of opinions.
Mhm.
If there are sometimes critical opinions on that, I tended to treat those things as like very personal to
Oh,
me. And then like if somebody sort of says, "Well, what about this?" or "I don't think that works," I could feel myself sort of bristling a little bit. It's like
yeah,
I didn't see it like that. I don't know.
yeah,
Do you have those sort of situations where you're asking people for
right.
opinions and it
Oh, yeah. I mean, art school
mm,
is all about critiquing each other, and
mm,
I take that very seriously. And I actually feel like grateful when someone tells me like, "Oh, that part there didn't really work so well. It could be better if you did it this way or that way or
mm,
whatever." And because of those critiques and because of people giving me their input, I feel like I've grown. And
mm,
you, I mean, if you're gonna be a, if you're gonna, okay, like I became the artist that I am because I was able to put my feelings aside and really
mm,
truly like listen to people's critiques. And then also I'm my biggest critique. Like I can look at
yeah,
something and be like we were saying, like instinctually, like there's something wrong about it. I'd have to walk away, come back. Oh, that part right there, that could be better. And how could it
yeah,
be better? Okay, let me ask someone. What do you think? Da, da, da. And because I want to be better. I want
mm,
to consistently grow, and finding fault in things as a designer, that is our job. You
yeah,
have to find all the faults into something until it
yeah,
finally could be the best version of it that it can be. And it's just
mm.
part of the process. Feelings will get hurt, of course. We're sensitive. I'm super sensitive, but the
How
work
do you
is
react
good.
to how do you react to those situations then? If
I
if
mean,
because yeah, I mean that I totally hear you with that sort of
yeah,
sensitivity. I've definitely got some of that.
yeah.
And I try to, when when you're in the moment and you might want to punch a wall or something like that, or just just but then you have
Well,
to.
I
This
mean,
is where you control
yeah.
yourself, and it's like,
I think, art at the end of the day is a gift that you're giving to the
yeah,
world. It's a piece of work that you have created as a gift to the world. So, how mad can anyone really get at you if I get, but
yeah,
that you've given them something? If they don't want to listen to your song, don't listen to my song. If you don't want to like
yeah,
look at my art, all you have to do is look away. So I just, I don't know. I keep my eye on the the prize, which the prize
yeah,
is really building up my own skills and being the best
yeah.
version of myself that I can be. And at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I want to see it.
Because you want
You
to,
know,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, like I mean, I want to, right. One of my favorite artists is Charles Burns. He
mm,
creates these incredible illustrations using just like black and white ink, and I am very in awe of just the way that he creates lights, and just by creating line work. And so I'm going to continue to work on my illustration skills,
Mm,
you know, and compare myself to him,
mm.
and do good work, and until I finally feel like I've overcome that challenge and achieved, and I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I
doing
mean,
it because I want to be good.
you wanna do that, yeah, that's
Yeah,
your own kind of, like, self-motivation to,
right. Yeah.
to do that, to improve yourself, and yeah, I
Hmm.
totally see that.
And I'm looking at these master artists, and I'm teaching myself by looking at their work.
Yeah. I mean, for them, that's a fantastic legacy for them to leave,
Yeah,
that you're looking at their work and saying, "I wanna be able to do that. I want to improve myself," and that's the kind of the benchmark.
for sure.
It's amazing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So like the feeling bad about being criticized part, it's just something you got to get through to get to the part where you're really good. You
Totally.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. My band in the beginning hated my my art, and I hated, maybe is not the right word, but they'd be like, "Really, this is what you're gonna make for our flyer?" They were not like stoked on
They
it,
weren't
but
all right.
because I wasn't good until I got good. Like
Yeah.
you gotta make a lot of shitty work until you do some good work, and that's part of the process, and it's totally fine.
So for you, with them, the you you persevered. You persevered with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got them to see your point of view
Oh, for sure.
eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my band is my biggest critique. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't sing well at first. I didn't do the art well at first, but obviously that there was something that they liked about me. They kept me around, and now it's all good. But but it wasn't always.
Oh my. Nicolette, that's great. Thanks so much for taking the time. It's been really great to talk to you
Ah,
and
you've been
about,
wonderful.
about the music and the art as well. It's been really,
Yeah.
really fascinating, honestly.
Oh, I appreciate that. This has been such a great conversation. Thank you.